In Ari Aster's Hereditary, Annie stands frozen in her workshop, her face a mask of horror as she realizes that something ancient and terrible has infiltrated her family. We never see horns or a pitchfork, no red skin or hooves, yet in both films, evil is palpably present, a powerful and dark force that doesn't simply attack its victims, but infects them, turning family members against each other and transforming domestic spaces into realms of unrelenting dread. This is the modern devil of horror. Not a physical entity to be confronted directly, but an invisible and pervasive evil that seeps through the cracks of already broken families. It's a reimagining of religious horror for an increasingly secular age, where the terror not comes from the belief in the devil, but from the suspicion that something like the devil might exist in the absence of God. We're about to dive into some of the darkest corners of horror cinema and looking at the line where fiction blurs with reality. We'll be discussing some truly unsettling films like Hereditary, The Dark and the Wicked, The Blackcoat's Daughter, and Longlegs. The horror in these films might not be as fictional as we think. In today's video, we're going to explore a very real and a very dangerous group, the Order of the Nine Angles, a theistic, satanic cult that has been linked to criminal activity, radical ideologies, and extreme acts of violence. We're also going to look at how their ideas and actions are reflected in these films, and what it means for the genre of horror that plays with the occult. If you've seen Hereditary, The Dark and the Wicked, The Blackcoat's Daughter, or Longlegs, you know that they all feature themes of possession, dark rituals, and family secrets. There's an undercurrent of dread that suggests that there's an evil at play, older and more insidious than we can even comprehend, often directly tied to some form of worship or occult practice. Hereditary is the story of a family haunted by grief, trauma, and a secret cult-like worship of an ancient demon. The Dark and the Wicked, a slow-burning horror film about siblings returning to their family farm and encountering a terrifying presence, with allusions to dark forces at work behind the scenes. The Blackcoat's Daughter, two girls at a secluded boarding school come into contact with something demonic, a story tied to occult rituals and possession. And Longlegs, an FBI agent, is sucked into a satanic murder case, but she is far more familiar with what is going on than she even realizes. Let's step away from the screen for a moment and talk about something much darker and more real. The Order of the Nine Angles, or O9A, is a theistic Satanist group that has existed since the 1960s. They believe in a form of Satanism that's terrifyingly radical. You also may be familiar with groups like the Church of Satan, but the modern day Church of Satan is largely atheistic, and if anything, it's kind of a protest movement. I would look at the two groups like this. If you've seen Longlegs, you know that Nicolas Cage's character is a true believer. Not only is the character a true believer, he is a vessel for the devil itself. We can also talk about Annie's mother in Hereditary. Annie's mother is also a true believer throughout the film, and in the group that she belongs to, she worships a king of hell. If the character Longlegs or Annie's mother were real, they would likely join the Order of the Nine Angles over a group like the Church of Satan. The O9A are notorious for advocating for extreme acts of violence, seeing these as purifying rituals to bring the world closer to their version of reality. The group's members have been linked to right-wing extremism and terrorist activities, often blending their occult beliefs with neo-Nazi ideologies. What is truly terrifying is how some of the elements in these films reflect the core ideas espoused by the Order of the Nine Angles. In Hereditary, we have a family cursed by generations of occult practices, worshipping ancient terrifying powers. This mirrors the real world, where we have groups like the Order of the Nine Angles who do partake in occult practices and in some cases even human sacrifice. In The Dark and the Wicked, the terrifying presence at the farm represents an overwhelming and inescapable evil, a force that a group like the Order of the Nine Angles very much believes in. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's take a few moments to talk about the difference between atheistic and theistic Satanism. Atheistic Satanism, popularized by figures like Anton LaVey, is a philosophy that rejects traditional religion, with Satan symbolizing rebellion and personal empowerment. Atheistic Satanism is more about the individual than the supernatural. See, this is where atheistic Satanism kind of ends and theistic Satanism comes into play. Theistic Satanism believes in actual deities, demons, and the supernatural power of Satan himself. The O9A is firmly in the theistic camp, believing that embracing Satan and darkness is not just a personal journey, but a literal transformation of the self and the world around the individual. The Order of the Nine Angles has long been associated with radical and violent ideologies, especially the promotion of neo Nazi beliefs and the importance of acts of terror. The group's core philosophy blends theistic Satanism with extreme right wing extremism, advocating for a violent apocalyptic vision of the world. The Order of the Nine Angles was originally a Wiccan organization that was founded during the 1960s. In 1974, it became a theistic Satanist organization once the leadership was allegedly taken over by David Miet, previously known under the pseudonym of Anton Long. Now, Miet is an interesting individual to say the least. He's still alive and he's around 75 years old. He's a former bodyguard of the British neo Nazi Colin Jordan. In '98, Miet converted to radical Islam while continuing somehow to lead the Order of the Nine Angles. This is what we refer to as cognitive dissonance, guys. David Miet was a key figure in the O9A, and he has assisted heavily in the evolution of the O9A's occult rituals. Miet himself became one of the leading advocates for O9A's extreme views and their connection to neo-Nazism. His writings and speeches often emphasize the importance of violence and destruction in achieving spiritual enlightenment, particularly through the Sevenfold Way, a ritualistic and brutal process designed to help followers reach a state of enlightenment by confronting and overcoming fear, chaos, and allegedly death. The O9A is also notorious for its recruitment tactics, often which targets vulnerable or isolated individuals, especially young people, seeking meaning or power. Many of the group's followers are drawn in by its radical philosophy that merges satanic ritual with political extremism. The Order of the Nine Angles often presents itself as a counterculture movement, which offers young people, young men especially, a sense of belonging and purpose within a system that promises transcendence through violent acts if they choose to partake in them. Whether it's through the lens of a movie or the frightening reality of a group like the Order of the Nine Angles, the occult is something that continues to haunt our collective consciousness. These films don't just scare us, they force us to confront our deepest fears about power, control, and the unknown. So the next time you watch a film like Hereditary, The Blackcoat's Daughter, or Longlegs, you should now know that reality is indeed stranger than fiction. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. You can support the channel directly by going to buymeacoffee.com/Cody Trashfire to leave a little $5 tip that really goes a long way to help my family. See you guys in the next video.